ALM 800, contact Anchorage Center 125.7, good day.
And a welcome aboard if you're just now joining us. So this is FS Mania flight from Seattle to Ketchikan, Alaska. We are currently level at flight level 400, cruising at a very comfortable, let's see, how fast are we cruising? I think our ground speed is 513 knots. Our true airspeed is indicating 496. Our true airspeed is 496 knots. We're indicating 260 knots. And that is pretty close to 0.85 Mach, which is what's commanded by the FMS. This airplane is capable of flying up to 0.91 Mach. It is considered to be one of the fastest, if not the fastest, civilian jets on the market today, and not including military. And let's take a look at a couple of things and see what we got here. So we're right now showing to top of descent about a little less than 100 miles. And I want to go ahead and prepare for our arrival, and actually I've done that, but let me go ahead and just do it again. So we'll go in here to the arrival. I've already selected the runway 11, and the approach I selected was the RNAV approach, runway 11, RNAV GPS approach, and the doozy intersection for the transition. So that's in there, and we just simply activated it. And then we can also come in and put in some landing data. We are going to need to listen to the weather in Ketchikan before we do that, so we will come back to that at some point. But with that information in there, let's just take a quick look at our flight plan. So we're currently on the leg from towards Doug's and Henry next, and then the Annette Island VOR, then the Dwarf intersection. And I think I want to change the speed right here at Dozy to Dozy. I want to change that to 190 knots, so I can simply just put that in the scratch pad and change it to 190 knots. Okay, at 250 at Dwarf, that's fine. So all that looks good. So let's see if there's anything else up here I want to show you. Let me zoom in a little bit there. We've got that on map, and let's zoom this one. There we go. So we can see Henry. So we're going to be beginning our descent shortly. Citation 5 Echo Sierra, contact Anchorage Center now on 118.5. Over to Anchorage on 18.5 for 5 Echo Sierra. So long. So I've got 18.5 already plugged in. We just need to flip it up, and let's give them a call. Anchorage Center, Citation 505 Echo Sierra, level at flight level 400, checking in. Good morning, Citation 505 Echo Sierra, Anchorage Center, continue. Okay, so we've checked in with Center, and I wanted to, while we had a minute before we descend, take a quick tour of the cabin, and let's go. I'll introduce you to our passenger. Get out of this seat here, and this is. It's a little bit tricky getting out of here, but we'll manage. This is Miss Peabody. Good morning, Miss Peabody. I hope you're enjoying your flight. Is there anything I can get for you? Why, yes, I'd like a Chardonnay. A Chardonnay? Yes, ma'am. Let's pull out your tray table. I believe we have a Chardonnay up here. Let's see, I think we keep that right here. There's the Chardonnay, and there's a wine glass. And is there anything else I can get for you, Miss Peabody? Well, can we watch some TV? Well, why, sure, yes. Go ahead, and may I get you your phone? There's your phone, and how about your laptop? And there's your laptop. And feel free to take your seatbelt off. I have cut off the fasten seatbelt sign. There you are. And for some reason, the beacon is showing up through the floorboard. We'll need to get that checked by maintenance. And if we come up here, we will see, and you'll notice, by the way, very nice cabin, club seating for 8. Back here, leather, interior, very nicely appointed, as it should be for an aircraft that's probably in the neighborhood of $20 million. And let's see, what have we here? Okay, so there's our stats. We're at 590 miles per hour at 40,000 feet with a 13-mile-an-hour tailwind, minus 46 degrees. Whatever you do, don't touch that handle. The door will open, and that's our cabin. So, Miss Peabody, we hope you enjoy your flight, and we're going back to the flight deck. Just let us know if you need anything. Have a good morning. I don't know what to think about somebody drinking wine first thing in the morning. We better close this and lock it. I don't think any of these will open. That's where the hard stuff is, down there. So, yeah, we got some music over here. Toshiba, yeah. And so, yep, let's get back up here to the flight deck. And we don't want to miss any calls. We've got our virtual co-pilot standing in for us, though. Raymond. Emma is our flight management system, and George is our co-pilot. So let's just see where we are. And we got 50 miles to go to our top of descent. So we'll be ready when that comes. And yeah, all's good here at flight level 400. Now we could go on up to flight level 510 in this aircraft, and we'd be up above pretty much all of the weather and all of the airline traffic, and maybe a few military jets up there, but we could do it. But today we're at flight level 400, and it's only about a 600 and some odd mile trip, so that's high enough, and we'll be beginning our descent shortly. So I'll check back with you in just a few minutes when we're preparing for the descent. And welcome back to the flight deck. We are just about 27 miles from our top of descent, so in preparation we're going to go ahead and ask center, since they've not given us a lower altitude, we're going to go ahead and ask for lower. We'll give them a call. Anchorage Center, Citation 5 Echo Sierra request. Citation 5 Echo Sierra, Anchorage, go ahead. Yes, sir, we'd like to get lower when able. Citation 5 Echo Sierra, descend pilot's discretion to flight level 240. Pilot's discretion to 240 for 5 Echo Sierra. Okay, so we've got cleared to begin our descent. I'm going to go ahead and first thing, right now we're set on 400, so I'm going to go ahead and select down to flight level 240 in preparation. And we're not going anywhere until the flight management system lets us know it's time. And I'm going to let it handle the descent. Since we've got vertical navigation capability, and I went too far. Sorry about that. 240 is what we were looking for. There it is. So we're indicating LNAV and V out right now. And once we're ready for the descent, and let me pull in here. Once we're ready for the descent, we'll see a path indicator over here that will appear, and we'll get a warning, and it'll let us know that it's time to begin descending. And the only thing we really need to do, we're setting the cruise setting right now, and we'll just need to pull back the power so that we don't overspeed. And one thing we can do as well is on the MFD setup, we can pull up this vertical profile, and it'll show us there at Henry, and there's the warning, and there's the path indicator, and you can see that we're above the glide path right now, and it's going to come down, and pretty soon it will be pushing the nose over, so we'll be beginning the descent. And I can see that it's brought back the speed commanded to 0.78 from 0.85 Mach. So I'll go ahead in preparation ease the power back out of the cruise detent slightly so we can begin slowing that airspeed down just a little bit. I do want to keep the speed up pretty much on the descent. Still got a pretty good ways to go to get to our destination, and we can look at that over here. We're 126 miles still out from the airport. Good thing about that, it will give me some time to share a little bit of a few fun facts. Now, we begin our descent in earnest, so I'm going to go ahead and ease that power on back. You can see our speed is coming up, and the flight management system will vary the vertical speed to keep us on the descent path. Now it shows me here that we're above it, but here it shows me that we're on it, so I don't really think that that's as accurate as maybe it could or should be, but yeah, we're showing right on the glide path, descending through 37,000. And in preparation for the arrival, we will go ahead and do a few housekeeping things. One of the things we want to do is bring on our windshield heat and start warming that up. And after we go through 31,000, we can start the APU. And so I've got a minute. I'll go ahead and share a couple of things about Ketchikan. It was named after Ketchikan Creek, which flows through the town, emptying into the Tongass Narrows. And the Ketchikan Creek served as a summer fishing camp for a very long time for natives. And it was established as a town by a guy named Mike Martin back in 1885. The area near the mouth of the creek later earned Ketchikan a measure of infamy during the first half of the 20th century for a red light district known as Creek Street, with brothels aligned on either side of the creek. It was a very popular space. I've actually been to Ketchikan a couple of times, and I've visited that area. It's a historic area now, and there was one place in particular, a lady named Dolly was the madam that ran it, and she was quite a character, it seems. Coming down through flight level 330 and indicating 298 knots. And ground speed still holding about 500 knots, so everything's looking good in the descent so far. And now we are showing that we are on the glide path, so that's good. And what else can I tell you about Ketchikan? Their economy wasn't based strictly on the red light district. They have government services now, and tourism is pretty big, commercial fishing. Ketchikan's nickname, one of them, is Salmon Capital of the World, also Rain Capital of the World. They got something like 17 feet of rain back in 1949. They measure their rain in feet, not inches. And it's a popular destination for cruise ships that are plying the inland passage up and down through that part of Alaska in the spring and the summer. And one of the other things, let me see, okay, yep. Ketchikan, known as the salmon capital of the world, it also has the world's largest collection of standing totem poles. Now, that's a claim to fame there, if there ever was one. The world's largest collection of standing totem poles can be found in Ketchikan. So if you have an interest in totem poles, Ketchikan's your place. So let's look in and see how we're doing on our descent. We're still on our glide path. That's good to know. And we're from Ann right now. We are 22 miles. And I think what we should do while we have time, stay ahead of the airplane a little bit, is go ahead and call or check in on the weather. And let me just get a approval to change the frequencies. Center Citation 5 Echo Sierra, we'd like to change frequencies to check the weather. 5 Echo Sierra, frequency change approved, report back up. So we could come in here and look at our radio. I do have in the COM memory, the ATIS stored. It's 134.45. It's actually not ATIS, it's AFIS, I think. I'll have to look at that. But here it is. We can get our altimeter.
Wind 090 at 3. Visibility 18. Sky conditions 600. Scattered ceiling 900. Overcast. Temperature 7.2.6. Altimeter 299.5. ILS runway 11 in use. Landing and departing runway 11. All aircraft waiting back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact unit Yankee. Papa Alpha Kilo Tango Airport information Yankee 1442 Zulu. Wind 090 at 3.
And Anchorage Center, 5 Echo Sierra's back up. 5 Echo Sierra, descend and maintain 11,000. Down to 11,000 for 5 Echo Sierra. So we needed to get back up on the frequency so we could keep on coming down pretty quick. But I did hear that they were using runway 11. And it was information Yankee, but there is not a control tower per se at Ketchikan. It is an uncontrolled field. There is a common frequency there. Let's see, it is the AFIS frequency, and that's what we just tuned into, but they also have the common traffic advisory frequency, which is 123.6. So, still descending, and over Ann, that's good. And let me just run through my checklist, and let's see, we want to go ahead and start that APU, so I'm going to flip that master on. I can do it from all the way over here, pull our starter up, and there it is, engaged, and we'll let that get warmed up. Let's take a look at our pressurization. Let's bring it down. Actually, we need to bring that down to field elevation, so we'll start that descending. and our message here, we'll check that out. Check speed constraint. So I'm going to back the power back. The speed constraint is talking about is at Dwarf, which is 26 miles ahead of 250 knots. So we got plenty of time to slow down. And actually, I kind of like where we are. I think I'll just clear the message out for time being. And we'll just be watchful of our speed. And going back to my checklist, we've started our APU. We can go ahead and cut on our generator and our bleed over there. Anti-ice. Since we've got some cloud layer, we're going to be descending down through them. I see ram air temperature over here is minus 12. Our static air temperature is minus 32 at this point. I think it'd be a good idea to bring the anti-ice on for the descent. So let's go ahead and put that on. We've got the windshield heat on. We're going to bring on the engine, stabilizers, and the slats. So we got that anti-skids on. And we'll go ahead and bring on recognition lights on, and anti-collision's already on. Let's go ahead and warn our passenger.
Check altimeter setting.
And we have checked the altimeter setting, thank you. And the other thing we can do is let's go ahead and bring these landing lights on here. Now we're just coming through 18,000 feet. We've got plenty of time. We could normally do that at 10,000, but we could get busy here in the approach, so I just want to stay ahead. The airplane, there's a lot to do, and let's zoom that on in. And I'm going to go ahead and pull our power back just a little bit. We'll slow us up some. Let that speed start coming down. And crosswind right now is 38 knots. It was 70 something knots earlier. Not hurting us, not helping us. Ground speed 364. And we're coming into Ketchikan, ladies and gentlemen. So I believe actually got a little bit messed up on our frequencies because I think center was 118.5 as I recall. So yep. Anyway, we're going to be changing later on to a different one, and that'll be that. And let me look. Descent, pressurization, anti-ice, APU, and seatbelt sign, and we have checked the weather. So we're good to go. Coming down through 14.8, and we are 8 miles from Dwarf, 290 knots. And about 60% on N1. Speed's bleeding off.
Who's clearing it, Mike?
And we've got speed brakes. We can use those if we decide we need to for some reason. Get us down below 250 before we drop below 10,000. And the flight management system will indicate that. Let's see. So we're showing 250 at Dwarf and then 190 at Dozy, which I put in. So just keep monitoring everything. Should be starting our turn here at Dwarf pretty soon. And we're indicating 270 knots. There's the message telling us to check the speed. Clear that out of there. Citation 5 Echo Sierra, you are 14 miles from Dozy. Maintain 4,500 until established on the final approach course. Change to advisory frequency approved. Report IFR cancellation of this frequency or on the ground call Ketchikan Radio 123.6. Okay, we'll do all that for 5 Echo Sierra. So we can go on down to, and we need to, bring our altitude on down so we can keep on descending. And I'm going to bring it right on down to field elevation.
Low 01 acreage departure, radar contact.
4,600. And we'll see these altitude constraints. Okay, I lost my click spot there. Come on, girl. I got us down to 2,400. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. We were good. Let's bring it back up about 100. There we go. Now let me get in here. So we're 7 miles. And we're getting ready to start our turn. I'm going to go ahead and put those speed brakes out. Actually, we busted our speed limit, so not a minute too soon there. And let's bring that power on back. And while we're slowing up here, we'll go ahead and get the advisory frequency in there, and it's that one right there. So showing just a little bit above our glide slope. It's not a glide slope, our glide path at 4,600 at Janum. And yeah, we're higher than that. Speed's coming off. And let's go ahead and get some flaps in.
Slides extend. Flaps 5.
Just putting the brakes on here. And our flight path is coming back, our glide path, descent path. We're recapturing that, so that's good. And a couple miles from Janum. Let's go ahead and zoom in here a little bit. Zooming out. There we go. And let's take a look at our landing checklist. And one thing I definitely know, without even looking, is we need to get off the engine sync. Just have a little trouble getting this off. The little plus sign's what I want. Or the scroll key, but see, the scroll key just messes me up. Come on. We're going to leave it on if we can't get it here. There it is. Oh, come on. There. Okay, all that work, we got it off. We're getting ready to go in the soup. And we're down to 180 knots, and we're going to go ahead and bring the speed brakes in. And let's get another notch of flaps. And I'm going to ease off on that power just a little bit more. We're right where we want to be. And we'll get the gear out when we get up here to coastal. So we're looking good. And approach check altimeter, we have set that to 995, and the pressurization we have checked over there. And engine sync is off, passenger advisory signs on, fuel quantity we have 4,700 pounds, landing lights are on, airspeed is 160 knots, and we probably don't want to get too much slower at this point. Slats and flaps are out. Here comes coastal, and let's go ahead and drop the gear.
Gear down.
So everything we need to know is pretty much right here in front of us. Speed's bleeding off, so I'm going to go ahead and bring some power in. Now one thing we did not do is get our VREF in there, so real quick I'll go ahead and put in our temperature was 7 degrees and the wind was 090 at 4, I believe. And so that should be good, and let's go to the next page and we're going to do dry runway and full flaps, so we'll confirm that. That's in there, and let's look at our V speeds. Let's return here, V speeds, landing, and they're in there now. There's our approach speed, so we go ahead and pull our power on back. We are slowing up. There's Wetal. And our radio altimeter is now engaged. We're 2,300 feet, and we're in the soup. So it's nice to have the FMS at this point because there's terrain definitely to the right of us, and there's terrain to the left of us, and we're at flaps 15, 120 knots, pretty good on the approach speed. The runway is 5 miles out. Ketchikan Radio, Citation 505 Echo Sierras, 5 mile final, runway 11, Ketchikan. And so we've made that call, got that done, and let's get this back right. Everything looks good. I'm basically just letting the FMS fly the airplane right now. We're coming down through 1,600 feet and 125 knots. And I'm starting to see some lights. So it looks like we are going to break out here about any time. I think that I remember hearing the ceiling was about 1,000 feet. And we're at 1,400, so everything's still looking good. Gears down, 3 greens, and flaps 15. We got another notch to go. It's 1,200 feet. Irma and George and Raymond, you guys are doing a good job.
1 to go.
1 to go.
1,000.
Okay. And we're breaking out. All right. And I see a runway ahead. And there is some terrain right there. So there is not a lot of room for error. And I won't tell if you won't, but we definitely busted the minimum descent altitude on this approach. So if anybody asks, we declared an emergency. We had to land. It was mandatory. So everything's still looking good. Airspeed's looking good. Power setting 44%. N1 did the trick for us here.
500.
And I'm going to go ahead and take the control. And I'm going to slow us up just a little bit. Add just a little bit of power in and another notch of flaps.
300. Minimums 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Get the nose down, there we go. Reverse. And speed
6
brakes.
knots.
There's 60 knots.
60 knots.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ketchikan, Alaska. And retract the speed brakes, retract flaps.
Flaps 5. Flaps up.
And the exit is all the way down the end of this runway. And the caution light is for the bus tie being closed. There's the yellow taxi line I was looking for. So we'll deal with that when we get off the runway.
One hundred, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And there's some cruise ships there out of the windshield I see off in the distance. And let's just brake here and clean up the airplane. So we'll go ahead and get rid of the caution. And let's set our brake that we can't see. Control period. And we have brought in our flaps and slats, and let's get rid of this right here, and we'll also clear out the message there, reset the altitude. And we have already set the generator up over there. Let's come over here and we'll go ahead and take off the strobes and the recognition lights, and let's get rid of the anti-ice, all of it, and the pitot-static heat, all of that's off. And let's come back here and cut off our landing lights, and let's get that taxi light on, and let me look at my checklist and see if I missed anything. After landing, flaps are up, and are they indicating up? Yes, flaps are 0. And transponder, that's what we missed, and then we'll go to standby on that. So let's return to the radios. There, it's on standby, and spoilers are retracted, yes, and yep, everything else is good. So we're going to go ahead and taxi into the gate. Brakes released. Now I'll tell you, this is a very tricky taxiway. You'll see here in just a minute. It is going to take a steep downhill turn here, and when it does, well, you're going to see what's going to happen. I'm going to go just as slow and careful as I can, but right when the nose wheel goes over this little hump, it drops, boom, and that happens. So I'm pretty sure that that is a little exaggerated landing smoke from the wheels, and we'll see probably some more of it. This is downhill. It just doesn't take hardly any power. In fact, that's no power.
6 lights.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I'm just kind of using the brake and trying to keep our speed as down as much as I can, but yep, there's some more smoke. So, you know, we'll need a new set of tires probably by the time we get down here. It's a bumpy little downhill. So they didn't have any level area to build this airport, and you can see they created a level place. And this is just the way they needed to build the taxiway down to the terminal here. So that's it. Yeah, there's the fire station over there. And the general aviation, you got to make another turn and go down another hill. It's over there. And so while we're here in Ketchikan, I think we will probably, most likely, take the Twin Otter out for a flight, because there's a lot of water around here, and I think we've got Twin Otters equipped with some floats, and we'll do a little sightseeing while we're here in Ketchikan. And after that, next flight will be in the Beech Duke turbine, newly released from Real Air, and it is rated very highly, and lots of good buzz on it. So looking very much forward to flying that. And the Citation 10 has been a joy to learn, and I will tell you that I have barely skimmed the surface of this airplane. There is a ton more. And the avionics and the Honeywell avionics here, there is a lot more that you can dig into, a lot more capabilities. All we did was just program in a pretty basic flight plan and flew an approach, a GPS approach in here, but it will do lots and lots more, and it's fully functional. Documentation isn't the greatest. It's okay. There's a lot of it. It could be better. I think they could have maybe a little better tutorial flight, maybe a little bit more detail, but it really isn't bad. I wouldn't let that stop me from buying the airplane. It's certainly better than a lot of the documentation I've been getting on some of the planes that I've been flying. So it's enough that, you know, you can figure out what it doesn't tell you. You can definitely figure it out. Maybe it takes a little extra work, but you can figure it out. So we got permission to go ahead and park here at this gate. We do have a very important person on board, and normally they reserve this for an Air Alaska flight that comes in here, but we trumped it. Miss Peabody trumped Air Alaska. There's no marshaller here. I was thinking this guy might be coming over to wave me in, but I guess we're not that important, huh? And try to keep us on the center line here as close as we can. And I'm going to estimate that that's probably pretty good. Good looking scenery. Orbix scenery. Nice looking job. We won't be needing that jetway, that's for sure. Okay, we're going to set the brake and shut this thing down. So ice protection is off, and the throttles are, see if we got them back. about as far back as we can get them. There it is, right in there. The cutoffs right there and right there. And let's get these lights off over here. We can let her up, and nav lights, I want to leave those on. Actually, all I want to cut off is the landing light down here. And since I did that, that's a little tougher to do. There it is. And we'll go ahead and cut these avionics off now. We're done with them. They're off, and standby power can come off, and the emergency power can come off. And we'll leave the batteries on because we've still got the APU running over here. And see, we've still got that radio on there. So it did not go off with the avionics. That's interesting. I guess so. It can come on and you can call clearance, but I'm not sure exactly. Let's see if I can get in here and figure out where to switch it off. Don't really see a power button, do you? Nope. Test. So I don't know. Don't see one. That one's off. So I guess this one just comes on. So if we shut the batteries off, it'll definitely come off. So that comes on so you can call clearance before you start. That's convenient. So, all right, I'm hopping out. I've done enough yapping. And Miss Peabody, we're here, and I'm told your limousine will be here to pick you up shortly. You may stay seated. I've left the air conditioning on. Go ahead and help yourself to another Chardonnay. By all means. We have arrived. Let's get the door. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ketchikan. It's a balmy 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Watch your step. That first one's a doozy. There we go. Oop. Watch that handrail. And here we are. So, we're going to put on our rocket propelled tennis shoes so we can get up and kind of see what we got here at Ketchikan. There we go. I like this super power I have that I can use. So great airplane. I will say the Citation 10 is a fantastic airplane. And Eaglesoft did a fantastic job in terms of the accuracy as far as I can tell. I'm not an expert on the Citation 10 by any stretch, but I will tell you that it handles good, it flies well, it's got fully functioning avionics, and I just wish we had more airplanes that were done that well. Some of the textures maybe could be a little better, and the documentation, certainly I wish that were better, but all in all, you know, it gets at least an A, if not an A+. And I know there are better airplanes. Look at that guy throwing that baggage. Oh my gosh. I don't know anybody on that flight. Man, he is really... I'm looking down here at the Air Alaska. So, Ketchikan, here we are, and yep, we're gonna fly a seaplane over here while we're here, and then we're gonna take the Duke and the Turbine Duke, and we'll probably fly up to maybe Anchorage. I don't know for sure yet, but somewhere here in Alaska, maybe, let's see, where else? Juneau. I think maybe we'll go to Juneau. And anyway, that's about it for this episode of FS Mania, and I want to say thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this flight as much as I did, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one from FS Mania. So long.
Heavy contact Anchorage Center 133.7 safely. 337 EPS 80 call.